I was sitting in my car, parked outside a restaurant I couldn't really afford, wearing clothes I'd bought on credit, about to walk in and pretend everything was fine. And for a second, before I opened the door, I just sat there. And I asked myself, who is this for? That question broke something open in me. Because when I actually sat with it, I didn't have a good answer. It wasn't for me. I knew that much. It was for the version of me that existed in other people's heads, the version they compared notes on, the version that showed up in family conversations and comment sections and group chats I wasn't even in. I was performing for an audience I'd never fully meet. And the craziest part? I didn't even know I was doing it. I think about our generation a lot. We're a different kind of human. We grew up watching people craft perfect versions of themselves online before we even understood who we were. We were handed the tools to build a personal brand before we had a personal identity, and somewhere in that process, a lot of us started confusing the two. We learned to measure ourselves in impressions, in followers, in comments that said, "You're doing so well," and when those things felt good, we chased more of them. Not because we were shallow, but because we were young and we were trying to figure out if we were okay. And for a while, the applause felt like an answer. But here's the thing nobody warned us about. The applause stops, the algorithm moves on, the likes slow down, people get busy with their own lives, and suddenly you're left in a quiet room with just yourself. And if you spent years building your sense of worth on external validation, that quiet room feels terrifying. I've been in that room. More than once. There was a period in my life where everything I did was low-key motivated by proving something to someone. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. It was subtle, almost invisible. But looking back, it was everywhere. I took a job I didn't really want because I liked how it sounded when I told people about it. I stayed in situations longer than I should have because leaving felt like losing. I spent money on things that didn't actually bring me joy. They just signaled the version of success I thought I was supposed to have. I pushed myself into exhaustion not because I was passionate, but because I wanted people to see how hard I worked. I was grinding for spectators. And the wild thing is, those spectators weren't even watching that closely. People are busy. They're wrapped up in their own proving, their own performance, their own quiet anxieties. Nobody was sitting there cataloging my wins and losses the way I imagined they were. I had built this imaginary jury in my head, and I was living my whole life in front of them. It took me a long time to figure out who that jury was made up of. Some of them were real people. An older family member who used to make offhand comments about what success should look like. A person I used to know who I wanted to believe I'd outgrown. An ex who probably never thinks about me anymore. A version of a friend group I'd partially invented in my own mind. And some of them weren't people at all. They were just pressure. Ambient pressure. The kind this generation absorbs from every direction before we're even old enough to question it. Here's the shift that changed everything for me. I started asking a different question, not what do I want people to see me achieve, but what do I actually want? Like, if nobody was watching. If there was no caption to write, no reaction to anticipate, no conversation to have later where I'd casually mention it, what would I actually do? That question was harder than I expected, because some of what I thought I wanted turned out to be things I just wanted to want. Things that looked good, things that came with a story I could tell. And when I stripped all of that away, I found something underneath that was quieter, less exciting maybe, on the surface, but actually mine. And that distinction matters more than I can explain. There's a version of ambition that comes from a real place inside you, where you want something because it genuinely moves you, because it aligns with who you are or who you're becoming, where the work itself feels meaningful even when nobody's clapping. And then there's the other kind, the kind that's really just a sophisticated form of people-pleasing, where you're chasing achievement not to fulfill yourself but to satisfy a narrative, to win an argument you're having in your head with someone who may not even remember you exist. The second kind will hollow you out, I promise. So here's what I want to leave you with, because I don't think this is about stopping being ambitious. It's not about dimming yourself or pretending you don't care about success. It's something more specific than that. It's about knowing whose voice is actually driving you. When you make a decision, a career move, a financial choice, a relationship you walk into or out of, sit with it for a second. Ask yourself, Am I doing this because it genuinely resonates with where I want to go? Or am I doing this because somewhere in my mind there's a person I'm trying to impress? Or a version of myself I'm trying to prove wrong? Or a narrative I'm trying to live up to that was never really mine to begin with? That level of honesty is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. But it's also the beginning of something real. Because when you actually start building toward yourself, not a persona, not an image, not a highlight reel, something changes. The motivation feels different. It has a different texture. It's quieter, but it's steadier. It doesn't spike and crash the way external validation does. It builds, slowly sometimes, but it builds on something solid. That's the kind of life I'm trying to construct. Not perfectly, not without setbacks, but deliberately. With some awareness of who I'm actually doing it for, I think about what it would mean for this generation, our generation, to collectively get clear on this. Because we're genuinely capable of something different. We have access to more information, more opportunity, more tools to design our own paths than any generation that came before us. But none of that means anything if we're using all of it to impress people we don't even fully respect, or to live out expectations we absorbed so young that we never stopped to question them. The new generation isn't defined by the circumstances it was handed. It's defined by how clearly it can see through the noise. And the loudest noise, sometimes, isn't out there in the world. It's inside your own head, the imaginary jury, the invented audience, the old voices that got so comfortable living there that you started mistaking them for your own. You don't owe anyone a performance. You don't owe anyone a version of success that doesn't actually feel like yours. You don't owe the internet a highlight reel. You don't owe the people who doubted you a visible comeback story. You don't owe your younger self the exact future that younger self imagined. What you do owe yourself, the only thing really, is honesty. About what you want, about why you want it, about who you're actually becoming when nobody's watching. That's the only proof that matters. Not the car, not the apartment, not the title, not the number in your account, though that number matters too in its own real and practical way. But all of it, any of it, only lands right when it comes from the right place. When it's for you, actually for you. I'm still figuring that out. I won't pretend I'm not. There are still days I catch myself performing a little. Still moments where I do something and wonder, in the back of my mind, what someone else will think. I'm human. That doesn't fully go away. But the difference now is I notice it. And noticing it means I have a choice. That's where it starts. Not with some perfect version of yourself who's completely free from ego or expectation, just with enough awareness to ask the question. Who are you trying to prove yourself to? And once you know the honest answer, you get to decide if that person is worth it.